Good afternoon. My name is Jay Rothman, and we have with us our co-host Deb, known as Debbie, and our
Hello.
special guest Rita Marie. Welcome to Real People, Real Stories, Raw. Hi, Deb. How are
Hi,
you?
how are you?
I'm doing well. How how was your weekend? It's actually here Sunday on the West Coast. Obviously, where you are up in Canada, it's still Sunday. If you're coming from in overseas, it is sometime Monday. Welcome to those of you that are live with us. If you don't catch us on a live, I know you're going to be able to catch us on a replay. It just doesn't go away. It's always here. So I'd like to welcome our special guest, Rita Marie. Do you like to go by Rita or do you like to have your middle name in there?
Just Rita is fine.
Okay. So I just want to really open the show up by just doing a quick check-in and Debbie, hearing from you how your week was, and if there's anything that comes to mind that you'd like to share with the community as far as any new experiences or any aha moments or moments of clarity that have kind of helped you along your own healing process in your journey.
Yeah, well, today you were on live with Jay Shetty. He had his live today this morning, and we went through a meditation. And one thing that really stuck out for me, and he said, close your eyes and just imagine you see a map. You're not ever behind, and you're never ahead. You're right exactly where you should be. That way, you're not rushing to try to keep up with anybody because you're right where you should be and you're not too much ahead, which means you can fall behind. So you're exactly where you should be. And that really resonated with me. And hopefully, that can resonate with a lot of other people. But that was just a beautiful meditation that really helped me ground today for the
You know,
start of the week.
I agree with you. I obviously Jay does a meditation at the beginning of each coaching session on a usual Sunday mornings, and for some reason this was the first time I actually did the meditation while I was hiking. I was doing my descent down the mountain, and my eyes weren't closed, obviously, because that wouldn't have been too pretty. But I was in meditation with him in a guided meditation, and I actually found it to probably be the best one yet that I've experienced. And one of the things I did note, this wasn't part of the meditation, but what he said was, if we ignore the inside, what we see on the outside is the ignorance of the inside, and
Mm-hmm.
that just resonated with me. But that was really powerful, as well as what you just shared, and that's just a big issue in the society that we live in, at least in North America, is we're always measuring, where are we at, and either we're feeling like we're behind, or we're feeling like are we too far in front, and when we're able to just accept that we're right where we're at, and it doesn't mean that we are behind, it doesn't mean that we're too far ahead, it just means that we're right where we are. And I think what's behind that is just accepting that we don't have to go to judgment uh, where we're at in our own healing process, and we don't have to be worried about how other people are going to interpret where we're at. We just have to be willing to just accept that we're right where we're at. And by doing that, I think it removes a lot of pressure. It removes a lot of potential anxiety. It removes those feelings of less than. I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not sharp enough. I'm just not enough. And we could just accept that in this moment. We are right where we're at, and that just means that it's where we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a very freeing statement for someone like me, because I grew up in my belief system is that there was a lot of measurements that were done, and then there was a lot of projections that were done, whether it be on a personal side or in business. Always having to write that 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year business plan for the company. There's a lot of pressure, always projecting out the future. And today it's really freeing to not have to live in a bondage of projections for ourselves and for whatever it is we're trying to achieve in our life. That we can just show up for ourselves in this moment, and as long as we show up today, that's all we got to focus on, because we are not guaranteed tomorrow anyway.
Yeah.
So it really relieves a lot of pressure. And I love that statement too. And I love when he said, when we ignore the inside, meaning when we ignore what we're feeling on the inside and we're not paying attention to our intuition or our gut or the wisdom that comes from within, what we see on the outside, which is the external self, the self that we project on how we want ourselves to be perceived by others, yeah, that is the ignorance of the inside, meaning we don't understand what's going on because we're not in touch with what's going on. If we're not in touch with ourselves and we're not doing our internal work, then we have no way of really knowing how to measure where we're at in any part of ourself or any part of our life. We're ignorant in that sense. And that's a little deep for some people to understand that statement, but it resonated very, very strongly with me, enough to write it down and not lose it, because I hear so many things when I'm being coached that are like, oh my God, I got to remember this. And then of course, what happens is it slips.
Yeah.
So how about you, Rita? Anything pop for you this week that resonates as far as that you'd like to share with us and the community?
No, I had a good week. And I don't know really what, sorry, I'm not sure what you want me to share.
No, it's okay. I guess, is there anything that happened to you this week that either was like really good or like something that you celebrated in that moment? Or is there any aha moments, any moments of clarity that you realize like, wow, I didn't realize this, or, I didn't know what I didn't know until I knew it in that moment?
Well, I came over here the other night and I had a really good visit with Deb. And she just really encouraged me and just told me that, that I do have a lot to share. And I get discouraged sometimes because I feel like maybe what I have to say doesn't gonna matter or affect anybody, right? And she just really encouraged me and just really helped me and just said, you know what, she believes in me and I believe in myself, and and I feel like that was great. It was a great time to spend with her and just to reconnect and just to talk about life. It was really good.
Aw, love you.
I love that. Sometimes when we're asked a question like that, we can tend to go to, oh my God, like I don't have anything that really happened that big for me. But the truth is, the reality is that who are we to measure if something's great enough or big enough? There's a saying, baby steps, big priority. We know where we've learned that. And, there sometimes, even when it comes to traumas and wounds, there's little wounds and traumas, and then there's big ones. And what's little to someone else could be huge in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all that matters is how everything affects you as an individual. So the fact that you had a beautiful, intimate evening with Debbie, and that affected you in a positive, healthy way, that's a beautiful gift, And the fact that you acknowledge that and you have that awareness, there's where the blessing and the true gift comes in. Is that when we get to just sometimes have those little moments of we'll call it what I refer to as healthy intimacy, which is just an exchange, interrelational exchange between two people. Sometimes it's spontaneous, sometimes it's planned. Regardless, is that when we're able to show up and be present, really be present in that moment and not be distracted with thoughts. I'm not sure if you know this or not, Rita, but the average person has something like 60,000 thoughts that go through our minds over a 24-hour period.
I thought it was just me.
What's that?
I thought it was just me. Glad to know everybody else thinks that much,
Yeah, so that's one statistic I love to share. We got 60,000 thoughts, and and how do we slow them down? How do we quiet them down? And then the second thing is that there is 86,400 seconds in a 24-hour period. Wow. And once those seconds are gone, we don't get them back. It's just like the 24 hours. It's like it's gone. It's in the book. And so what do we have to do? How can we make these 86,400 seconds within a 24-hour period the best 86,400 seconds of our life? Mm-hmm. Even when we're suffering, even when we're feeling discomfort or pain of some sort, how can we, for me, it's learning. When I could learn something from that experience, it makes it okay. It makes it tolerable. It's when I don't learn something and it's just pain.
Mhm.
That's a difficult way to live. And so, with that, what I'd like to do is really open the show and invite you, Rita, to share about your life and where you're from, and why you have agreed to come on a show. Before we do go there, I do want to welcome those that are here live with us this afternoon. Barbara Taylor, thank you for joining us. Ahmad Columbi is also with us. Ashley Howell, welcome. Abdel, welcome to the show. Karen Boda is here live as well. And if you hear something that resonates with you or that you like or love, feel free to hit the like or love. And you're not limited. You can hit it as many times as you want. We just want to see it just light up. And if there's any questions or comments, something that resonates with you, feel free to comment away. And we'll do our best to either address it during the show or after the show. We'll stick around so we can answer your questions that you may have. And so with that, Rita, I want to thank you. I want to acknowledge you for having the courage to come on the show today. I did ask Rita before the show started. We had some time in the studio, and I asked Rita if she's ever, done this before, done any type of show or interview format, and I believe you said you had not. Yeah. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that and thank you, and just acknowledge the fact that it takes courage to push through something that we haven't done before, the unknown, and not really sure how it's going to go. But I could tell you this, is that every time that I have walked into the unknown, some type of discomfort, most of the time today in my own recovery, in my own healing journey, I come out on the other side having learned something about myself. And it's not something usually that I regret. It's usually something that I'm able to just acknowledge and celebrate and realize that I'm a stronger person than I ever thought I was. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Rita, and welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, I just really I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy that you guys had asked me to come on.
I got nervous. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm nervous. Yeah.
Are you here, Rita?
Pardon? Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry.
I can hear you, but I can't see you now.
Oh, really?
That may be on your end, Debbie, because I see her fine.
Okay.
So yeah, I am 31 years old. I have 3 children that live at home with me. So I have my oldest is 16, and then I have an 11-year-old boy. So my oldest is a boy, he's 16. I have an 11-year-old boy, and I have a 4-year-old girl. I was 14 when I got pregnant with my oldest son. I started making poor choices, I guess, in life when I was quite young. I started, smoking cigarettes and drinking, things like that, right? And then things escalated, and then situations in my life escalated as well. So when I was about 14,
Hello? Are you ladies there?
I can't see Rita at all.
I'm going to bring her out of the studio and bring her right back in and see if she shows up.
Are
you back?
Into hard drugs. Are you there?
Yes.
Hi.
Are you all seeing each other now?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Well, what happened?
It cut out, so you're gonna have to start all over.
No, we don't. This is just like part of life. Oh, there she goes again. She keeps getting dropped. I'm not sure why that is.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi. Okay, we're there again. Sorry.
Yeah, we are here.
Okay, where am I starting? Like I feel funny. Like I feel
okay.
like
Where you're starting is that you said you made some poor choices when you were younger.
Yes. Okay, so basically hold on. I feel like I should have wrote this out first. I thought it would be Easier.
No, don't worry. You're perfectly fine the way you are, honey.
Okay. Anyway.
It's okay. Just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
we're not being judged. We're not being graded on this. It's just this is an organic show where we just speak our truth. We just share our stories, and then we just have a conversation. And so,
Okay. So yeah, so my story, like I was saying, I started very young, making poor choices. I ended up pregnant at 14. It was a pretty horrific situation, is what I can say. It was traumatic for me, and it's something that has traumatized me throughout my life. That I have dealt with, I guess. Not having my son, I guess, just the whole way I got pregnant, right? So yeah, I wish I could say that, after I had my son at 15, that life was good. I was a good mother, and I took care of him, and I loved him. And I did love him very much. I do love him with all my heart. But I was not a good mom. I didn't know how to be a mom. I was 15 years old. I was still very hurt. And it would take me years and years to realize that that was something that I needed to deal with, with just the trauma and the pain that I felt, I guess, right? So I didn't understand that at the time, right? So I think for a long time I beat myself up because I wasn't the mom that I knew he deserved and that I wanted to be so badly, but I just wasn't able to. So yeah, so I got into hard drugs after that, after I had him. I was using needles. I was doing not heroin, sorry, not at that point. I was doing crystal meth. 16 years old, I was my first time in jail. I started very, at 16, and I would be in and out of jail until about 2.5 years ago. So that was my life, in and out of jail, doing drugs. Unfortunately, having children and not raising them, that was my story for a long time. So yeah, my dad was always there for me. He was always a solid person in my life, and thankfully, thank God, he was a solid person in my children's life too. So no questions asked. He took my son for me, and he raised him. Right, I wasn't able to, so my dad did. My dad stepped up to the plate, and he did what needed to be done, I guess. I did get sober for a short period when I was 18. I went to treatment. I did well for a while, and then I got out and I started drinking. So, I mean, I kind of traded one evil or whatever for another, right? So, yeah, I found another, I met a guy. We fell in love. I ended up having my second child, another boy, at 20. And we bought a house together. We had a life or whatever. He worked. I stayed at home with the kids, and it just wasn't a good relationship. He was a bad alcoholic. He was abusive. He was very immature still, right? Wasn't ready for a family, and he treated my oldest differently. He was abusive to him. He he just he had our son, and then he had my son. You know what I mean? And he felt like he had to take care of Andrew, but he loved Aaron, right? And it was very hard for a long time, very hard for everybody. And that's another thing, another situation where it would take me years to understand and realize the effects that actually had on my son, and that it was actually a lot worse than I had thought. So that relationship left a lot of trauma as well for me, and just pain. So I stayed with him for 6 years, on and off. This time though, it didn't take long. I think my second son was probably a year old, and I had started back into active addiction again, into crystal meth. So I was using pretty hard. I would have ended up back in jail again a few times. Just not a good situation. So when I was 19, I met Debby. 18, 19, and we worked together, and we became really good friends, and we stayed close for a long time. I didn't contact her obviously when I was being a mess up or whatever, when I was not living very well, but she has just always been another solid person in my life, just loved me no matter what, didn't judge me. I was open and honest with her about everything. She knew my life. She knew what I'd gone through. She knew what I was going through. So she never judged me. I am so grateful and so thankful for that, because no, but everybody needs that. Everyone needs somebody that doesn't give up on them and that accepts them and loves them and doesn't judge them. And Debby was my good friend that didn't do any of that. She just loved me. That's it, So my dad was having a hard time. the boys were, he would have had both boys by this time. Cause I mean, like I said, I continued in drugs. I was in and out of jail. I was not fit to parent my children. And, you know, I was doing needles. I wasn't very, anyways, sane, I guess. So she actually, my dad approached her. I don't even know how that worked. If he approached you or you approached him about helping or what, but she ended up, she ended up moving in, actually. Her husband and her son, even at that time, you know, they were full-time. They were full-time taking care of my children, you know, for me. Yeah, she's just amazing woman, you know, and yeah, life just continued like that, continued haywire, you know. Several bad things happened, you know, like in and out of jail. Yeah.
Being in and out of jail, was that primarily, were you getting busted for drug paraphernalia, and or were there crimes besides getting busted for drugs?
So I sold drugs for the majority of my addiction, just to support my addiction, I guess. You know, I was a criminal too. I mean, I unfortunately didn't do good things. You know, I steal from people, break into places, whatever. I wasn't living a very good life. Obviously, the second I would get high, I had no morals, no values, no nothing. I didn't care about anything except for myself and except for drugs, unfortunately, right? So yeah, I was in jail majority of the time for selling drugs, though.
How does it feel right now in this moment to kind of say these things about yourself?
It's disgusting, to be honest. I just know how much I value people. I can honestly say that I love everybody. I have a huge heart, and the fact that everything I believe in and the person I am just goes out the window so quickly as soon as I get high. You know what I mean? When I was high, I didn't care about anybody. And I mean, I had amazing children that I couldn't even, you know what I mean, stop doing all these horrible things for either, you know, because I only cared about myself and what I was going through, right? So to hear that now, it sucks. It's not a good feeling. It's not who I am, and I know that, right? So
okay, so right there, what you just said is key. You said it's not who I am, and what I want to piggyback on that, it's who you were.
Yeah.
And I intentionally wore this shirt today, Choose Forgiveness, for a reason, because I had a sense that we were going to somehow land here. And you know, one of the things that I had to be willing to do was first hold myself accountable for the destruction in my own life that I caused, the havoc that I caused to not only to my loved ones, to my own family, at the time my wife, now my ex-wife, and my children, but also to myself. You know, ultimately, you know, I don't know which was worse, living in anger and resentment or living in guilt and shame.
Oh yeah.
But they are all horrendous emotions and a space to live in. And what I've been willing to do over the past 3 years is, through how I've helped myself heal, is first and foremost by raising my hand like you're doing today and sharing my truths, even though they hurt to hear me say them.
Yeah.
To hear me say the truth was very painful for me. However, through that pain, I was able to start the healing process, because I was able to acknowledge that that's who I was. That's how I behaved. It's not who I even was. It's not who I am at my core. That's not who I am. It was behaviors that I took on because I was damaged. I had a lot of traumas that I had never dealt with in my life that led me to places that I never, ever would have dreamed was possible. But through admitting it and acknowledging it and putting it out in the universe the way you are today, it allowed me to begin the healing process. And a big part of that is called forgiveness. And that forgiveness is to myself, to just be able to accept that the things that I did, you know, I lied, I cheated, and I stole as well. I just did it a little differently than you, but the end result is still the same. I still did those acts of very hurtful behaviors to others and to myself. Yeah. But by being able to just acknowledge it and being able to change my behavior today, I'm able to accept that I had to go through those things to get to where I'm at. I had to go through that darkness of the soul to come out to the lightness that I live in today. And so that's really, I believe it's the person that's most important to begin the forgiveness part on is yourself.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to ask you, where are you at in that part of the process? Are you at the beginning, the middle, or?
In forgiving myself,
Yeah.
you know what? I've always found it easier to forgive everybody else. I hold nothing against anybody that's done anything to me or anything like that caused pain in my life. I really don't. I truly do not hold anything against anybody. When it comes to myself, like you brought up a great point. You lived in, and you didn't know what was worse, living in the guilt and the shame, or just feeling bad for, the things you've done. I lived in guilt and shame for so long that I still feel like it's very hard for me to forgive myself. Very hard for me to know that the pain I was causing my dad, financially and every other way, you know what I mean? And my children, oh my goodness, like, I've been in their lives now for 2.5 years, yes, but it's still hard for them to forgive me, to trust me. It's a long, slow journey that I'm 100% committed to, you know what I mean? To making sure that they know that I'm there, that I love them, and I'm going to do what it takes to be their mom. But it's hard, and I still struggle with forgiving myself. I still struggle. I know that I need to, and I know that that wasn't me, and that, it was me, but anyways, that's not who I am though. So
Right. It
I
was
understand that.
behavior. It's behavior that
Yes.
was due to traumas and wounds
Yes.
that you faced. It doesn't mean that that's who you are at your core, at your
Mhm.
soul. Your inner child wasn't born doing drugs. Your inner child wasn't born in and out of prison. Your inner
Yeah.
child, that was an absolutely beautiful, beautiful soul, is still here. Is still present. I could see and feel your complete wholeness on this show today. And your inner child, I didn't know. I thought when I became an adult that my inner child just like disappeared. I thought he was gone. And as I went through life as an adult and made a lot of mistakes and hurt a lot of people along the way, because I had traumas that I hadn't worked through.
Mhm.
When I started my healing journey, I woke up and realized that my inner child is still very much within me. And and there's part of the beautiful part of the gift is that today, we get to hold our hands, we get to hold our inner child's hands and hug them and nurture them and love them and tell them that it's okay
Mhm.
and that they're going to be safe now because we come home. Part of the healing process is we come home to ourselves. And then, what I've also learned, Rita, is that through the process, I know you've heard this in the rooms of recovery, is a large part of what we have to be willing to do is hold ourselves, when we hold ourselves accountable. And it's not just talking it, it's walking it. It's something called living amends. And by showing up and behaving differently with your children and with your dad and whomever else has been a rock in your life, someone solid, whoever that might be, including Debbie, the longer we are consistent in our healthy behavior,
Yeah.
the more they begin to build a new trust.
Mhm.
And it's just a beautiful thing as we're able to experience and watch it unfold. But it will get better. And as long as we continue to do our part, do our work, our relationships will heal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Have you experienced that at all yet, would you say, with your children or with your dad? The
Yeah.
beginning of that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like my son told my oldest son, he's the one that's been through the most, right? But he always tells me, like, I 50% trust you. I 50% don't. I'm like, oh, but he recently told me that it's a little more than that now. So I was like, okay, well, that's good. So that feels good, right? Yeah. And, even in the little things, with my 11-year-old, my daughter, she's 4. So she's a little young. She does, I'm sure that she has issue, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of, like when I leave and stuff, she gets a little bit of anxiety and stuff, but I don't think she understands why she does. But with my 11-year-old boy, it took him a long time just to warm up to me again, and he was angry at me for a long time. He would lash out at me and be like angry. But lately he'll probably be mad at me for saying this, but he cuddles with me now on the couch and stuff, and and I'm saying, like, me and him used to be really close before, right? But he hadn't done that in a long time, so it feels really good, you know. And
It's baby steps.
I go to
That's
church.
all part of that.
Yeah, baby
Yeah.
steps, right?
Yeah.
But we go to church, and I'm a small group leader at our church in the grade 5-6 room. So he's in grade 6. So we go to that together. And at first he's like, I don't want to go with you, you know, but now he goes and he loves it. And he even hugs me in public.
Oh, yay.
So that's really good. Yeah, I know, right? He hugs me in public. So that's pretty big for him because, you know, usually he couldn't be bothered, right? So the fact that he does that, it warms my heart. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I want to repeat something that John just said. He says, if we can still think of ourselves, and John, welcome to the show. Welcome home if you're back from your first vacation since you went through your medical crisis 8 or 9 months ago. John says, if we can still think of ourselves as children, we can show ourselves some self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, how true is that? John Shaw says, hello, welcome, John, to the show. Brandy Williams, thanks for joining us. John, and Lisa Hipp says, wow, that statement just sparked a fire of realization for myself. Thank you. Lisa, I don't know right in this moment what statement that was. If you want to put it back out there, if you recall, you could put that back out there. Rose, welcome. She says, once you are on drugs, you can't stop. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, drugs are definitely, you can stop because mm-hmm. you have stopped.
Yeah.
You know, it's a process that you have to hit some type of bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to get sick and tired of feeling sick and tired to be willing to stop. Mm-hmm. And it takes work. It takes commitment to take control of whatever the addiction is. You know, alcohol and drugs are a well-known addiction. There's many other addictions that we as human beings, we suffer with. Some of us, it's food. Some of it's smoking. Some of us, it's codependency. Some of us, it's gambling. Some of us, it's retail therapy. It's food. It's shopping. You know,
shopping and food for me.
Yeah, you know, some of us, it can be sex addiction as well. I mean, there's hoarding. You know, addiction is addiction. And what I've learned is that the addiction really isn't the problem. The addiction is just a symptom.
Yeah.
The problem is when we get to the root cause of what's behind the symptom, which is the addiction, then we can begin to heal our minds, our bodies, and our souls. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I appreciate the fact that you mentioned something about one of your sons being willing to snuggle or show affection.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, as a male, I will tell you, I grew up in New York, and I grew up in a home where at least the belief system back in New York where I grew up, you know, boys had to be strong, and we had to really hold back on our feelings, our emotions. At least that's what my belief system was. And so I took that into my adulthood, and, you know, it didn't serve me well. And today I am so grateful that I have a balance between, I'll refer to as my masculine and my feminine self. And the fact that I'm willing to express my feelings and feel what I feel, because what I've learned is when I feel and I reveal, I get to heal.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I go 2 or 3 days without getting choked up or emotional over something, I can go to concern, like, am I starting to freeze over again? Because I don't ever want to go there where I'm frozen. I want to be able to feel. And I don't want to use drugs to manage anxiety. I want to feel, even when I have those moments of anxiousness or discomfort. That's okay for me, you know, because at least I can acknowledge it and walk through it and come out on the other side and learn how to navigate through it. Picking up healthy tools, not unhealthy tools like food or sex or smoking or whatever the other, you know, unhealthy behaviors were that I reached for in my life. And so
I wanted to chime in on that a little bit because John, he's watching right now, and I'm really bad with full names, but John knows who he is. He's really helped me to self-soothe and with tapping. And I didn't know what it was. I wasn't skeptical. I just didn't know what it was and that I could do it. And we went 30 minutes and he asked what level of scale I was on for anxiety, and I was at like a 9.5, and we just kept doing it. and I went down to a 0, and I realized I just need the tools. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I have to stay in that high anxiety place prolonged. I just need to know how to do it. I just need, like you said, put that hammer in my tool belt, that literally, because it's tapping. I'm putting that in my tool belt, and now I know that if I get to a state where I feel I can't get out of for anxiety, I can bring myself back. So there are opportunities to be able to self-soothe that doesn't have to do with addictions, that's not unhealthy, but you have to catch it before it becomes unhealthy.
To your point, Debbie, what I know today is that at least in North America, we're not taught life skills.
No.
Unless you grow up in a home that lacks dysfunction, lacks trauma, and lacks sadness, and that perfect home, which I don't know. I haven't met a soul yet who can say that they actually came from a home like that. And I believe that if they say that and they believe that, they're probably living in some sort of denial and minimization. Because the longer I get to know them, the more things come out. And it's like, what about that time that you thought that you came from that home? But that's not what this moment's about. This moment is about, we're not taught the life skills we're not really taught, at least I wasn't taught in grade school and throughout, what life can be like when we learn how to reach for healthy tools.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taught those. And so
No.
some of us, we eventually get there, we get there through our own awakening when we hit some sort of a bottom.
Yeah.
That's when we start to learn how to reach for healthy tools, and today a healthy tool can just be reaching for your child, Rita, for your son or one of your children, one of your sons, and saying, I love you. And just give them a hug, and you just allow yourself to feel exactly what you're feeling. And, we're all about energy. We're a universe of energy. We're an energy field. And when we put out either positive or negative energy, it's a choice. So when we put out positive energy, even if your child is 4 years old or 5 years old or 10 or 11 or 16, they will feel your energy. And if it's negative, they're going to feel it and they're going to play off of it. So when we have that positive energy and we're able to just take that moment to just acknowledge them and tell them how much we care about them, it's a game changer. It changes everything, for me. So for example, my children are older now. I have 3 sons and they're in their 20s. And so none of them live with me anymore. So I don't have the opportunity to show them love that way in a physical sense. But, today I live with a beautiful angel, and, she'll be cooking dinner sometimes, and most of the time. And when I just have that moment, usually I have music on in the background, and when a song just kind of elevates me, I don't care what she's doing. I don't care what she's got in her hand. I'll just come up behind her and to the side of her and just grab her and just start to dance. And that's a beautiful way to show affection. And, we can do that with our children too. We could do that
I do that with Richard a lot.
What's that?
I do that with my son a lot. Like, we're just be playing some music in the background and it just gets you. And I just like, come on, come dance. I got to teach you how to dance for your wife. So I'm that person. I'm a single mom. So I'm that person that has to teach him. And I think that he needs to just live in the moment. And that's exactly what you're saying. You're living in the moment. Just do it, right?
Well, it's living in the moment. There's spontaneity behind it. But I think the deeper part of that is that it's allowing ourselves how to learn how to practice healthy intimacy.
Yes.
With everybody that's worthy of it in our life. Now, there are some people that aren't worthy of it. And so we have to just be aware of who we are, who we're willing to give, who we're willing to be intimate with. But when it comes to family members and our children, especially when they're younger, to be able to be ourselves and to teach our sons especially that intimacy and expressing our feelings is a healthy thing, and that they don't have to be tough, but they could just be.
Yeah.
And just allow them to, especially children, the boys that are tend to taught on a playground that they need to be tough and toughen up. John Fieri knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
that's the playground I grew up on, and, today, I had a guest on, Debby, you may know him too, Rita, Michael Cameron. I don't know if you've met Michael or not, but he's a friend of Debbie's in the community in Alberta and up in Canada. And, he's redefining what badass means for men today.
Yeah.
And, it's a beautiful thing when we realize that. So.
Rita, I just wanted to come back a little bit because you shared all your struggles and what you've come from. I want to kind of see where you're at now because you are such an inspiration for me. You're going back to school. You're raising your kid. Like, where did that change come? Like, so I haven't seen Rita for a long time. Actually, I went to the swimming one day, and at the pool we usually go to in Sherwood Park, and I just saw her there. She's like, Debby. I'm like, Rita, and I just saw your eyes sparkle. I knew that you're back to yourself again, and it was just so wonderful to see you. And I'm just so proud of you. And I just want to kind of know what changed and what are you doing now?
Well, okay, so like I was saying, about 2.5 years ago, I ended up going to jail for my final time. Thank God. I got charged with trafficking again, and not again, but just like I got charged with trafficking this time. I actually got convicted, so I ended up going to the federal penitentiary. I got 2 years. And you know what? Like in the past, going to jail was the worst thing that could ever happen to me, right? I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be bothered. I mean, it took me away from doing what I wanted to do. I couldn't get high. I had no choices, right? So this last time, though, I went to jail, and I was actually pregnant with my 4th child. And I had the opportunity to go to, so not the opportunity, but just when you're in the federal pen, it's a lot different, right? So you're there for a lot longer. So they have a lot more programming set up for you. They actually, they actually want to rehabilitate women. They don't want them to keep coming back in and out, which is, usually the norm for like provincial jails, right? So when I went, I got involved in every program possible. Like I took all the programming that was offered to me and then some. I did what I could. I went there, I did my time. I didn't get involved in all the politics there, whatever you want to call it. I didn't get involved in the drama. I just stuck to myself. And you know what? Probably being pregnant was the best thing that could have happened for me too, because that wasn't on my mind to go and get involved in all the crap, because I mean, there was just as much drugs in there and everything else too, right? It's not a good place, so. But I stayed away from all that. I stayed focused on what I was doing, and I had to make the decision. Like, what do you want for my life? Like, do I have this baby and keep him, and then what? And then potentially get out and keep doing the same things? You know what I mean? Get my dad to raise all my kids and not taking care of any of my children and doing what I want, or do I really just think about my children I have already and about this new baby that I'm going to be bringing into the world? So I had a hard decision, ahead of me. I went back and forth for the whole 9 months, about keeping him, giving up for adoption, keeping him, giving up for adoption, and not giving him up for adoption. I shouldn't put it like that, but giving him a better life, and that's truly what I believe I did. So 2 weeks before I had him, I was, and it wasn't with a little bit of encouragement either. My dad, we talked about it quite a bit, and he strongly suggested that I give him up for adoption, right? So, so like about 2 weeks before I had him, I ended up deciding, okay, I need to do this, and not just for him, but for my 3 children that I had already. I wanted to be a mom so badly, but I wasn't even raising any of the 3 I had. My last daughter, it lasted all of 6 months. She was 6 months old, and I got her taken away from me because I was already back messed up and not being a good mom at all, right? I could barely even stay sober through my pregnancy with her, So yeah, I gave him up for adoption, and you know what? It's something I prayed about for 9 months. It's something I didn't just do. It was something I really, really had to like work on and pray about and work through. And I strongly believe I was well prepared the day that I had him, and then the day I gave him up for adoption, because it was almost like God was already healing my heart before I had him. And that's honestly, God, that's how I feel. No, seriously, because it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot harder. I was worried, like, what if like this is setting me up to fail? You know what I mean? Like, because you've had a baby. The second you have a child, it's like you've never ever imagined your life without them. You've always had that child with you. They've always been a part of you. You know what I mean? You've just always loved them unconditionally. You know what I mean? I loved my son when I had him with all my heart, but I didn't have that connection. So like I said, I feel like it was like God was already preparing me and healing my heart beforehand, because he knew what I needed and now today he's got two parents, a mom and a dad, something I haven't been able to offer my other children. He's thriving, he's happy, he's beautiful, and I appreciate being a mom today. Not that I didn't appreciate it before, but I know that it's a privilege to be a parent. And I truly know that with all my heart. It is a privilege to be a parent and to raise your children. Anyone can have kids, but it takes, a real parent to raise their own children. I mentioned before the show just like how struggles, like I feel like I still have struggles every day. And Jay brought up a good point. Everybody has struggles. And that's just reality. That's just life. And that's so true. I didn't realize that before, though. I thought it was only me, oh, poor me, you know what I mean? Because, like, that was me. That was my mind. I was all wrapped in up what I was going through and whatever else. And I thought I was the only one that struggled and had a hard time. But no, being a parent is a struggle, especially when you're a single parent. Even, it's a struggle. But everybody goes through that, and everybody manages to do it still and to deal with it still. I just didn't have that maturity and that understanding. I didn't grow up with a mom. I grew up with just my dad. So I did, and uncles and brothers. And so, I knew how to be a man, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. But I didn't have women to speak into my life, right?
Yeah.
I think that's, so, yeah. So anyway, so like I say, just giving him a better life and giving him a mom and a dad just was the best decision for everybody. In my heart today, I would be lying if I said there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't think about him, because I do. I think about him every day. But it doesn't bring me to tears. It doesn't kill me, you know what I mean? Because I know he's just so happy and so loved. And he doesn't have just a mom and a dad. He has me as well. I'm his favorite auntie. He's well loved. My kids, I think so.
I just want to stop you right there, though. I really am appreciating how you are correcting yourself from saying giving up from adoption, that you gave him a better life. I absolutely commend you for that, because it's true. You didn't give him up, but you gave him a better life than what you could provide. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that we talked about prior to going on live was you acknowledged that you did it as an open adoption, and so he is a part of your life, and he's part of your other children's life.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
It's not like you made a choice to give the baby up for adoption, but you also made the choice for it to be an open adoption, so that you can remain in your child's life.
Yeah.
And also allow your child to be part of your older children's life. And to me, that's this is a gift. It's something to be acknowledged and to honor for yourself and for your children, and not something to be ashamed of.
No.
It takes a lot of courage to do what you did. Gina Marie says, understand completely, courageous act, and she is absolutely right.
Thank you.
What are you doing now, Miss Rita? Sorry, Jay.
Well, when I got out of jail, I had a plan already that I wanted to go to Bible college. So, like I said, it was something that when I was pregnant for the 9 months, that God just really helped me through it. God really helped me with my decision and just with everything, and how he healed my heart, and how, you know what I mean? Like how I was able to get through that and not be a complete mess, because that was a really hard decision, right? But I've always been a Christian. Like, I did grow up in a Christian home. I just backslidden for quite a bit of years. But I wanted to go to Bible college and just have a solid foundation for my life, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I very interested in learning more about the Bible, very interested in learning more about God. So I am in my second year now of Bible college. So what I'm going for, like I said, is my Bachelor of Arts in Theology. So I'm in the youth program though. So when I'm done, I'm not going to go to work in a church. That's not my plan. That's not where I'm called to work or whatever. I'm going to be a youth worker. So I want to work with like high risk youth. I want to work with like the Hope Mission or somewhere, you know what I mean? And who knows, maybe we can start something. Who knows? No.
Let's do it, Rita. We got this.
Honestly, that's my heart. So I'm not in it for any. I honest to God, I just know how important it is for when you are 14 years old, like I was. I had no friends, no nothing. You know what I mean? And I felt like alone. I had my dad, of course, right? But the people that were there using me, what I thought were my friends, were drug users. Was my brother, you know, like my own brother, right? And they kind of accepted me and brought me into all that stuff, right? So it's so important. I want to be a mentor to young girls. I want to be, you know, to pregnant teens, whoever, anyone, right? But youth is where my heart is. I know that if I just would have had somebody solid in, you know, in my life, like my dad, I gotta rephrase that. Sorry, my dad was always a very solid person in my life. My dad was he worked out of town for 2 weeks and was home for 2 weeks. So I was able to kind of do what I wanted, I guess. I don't want to say it like that, because I mean, there was always somebody there, but yeah, I want to work with youth. That's where my heart is. I want to help where I can.
That's beautiful.
You want to give back, you want to give back something that perhaps you weren't, that those life skills that were lacking.
Yeah.
You. And if you could help change the trajectory of one young woman, then there's another living amends. That's what we get to do today. And I love that about you, Rita.
I promise you today, right now, Rita, whoever's watching, they may not comment, but you're changing lives right now. So just know that, like, you've done that one, and just keep going. You have so many more people to help.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you know if any of your family members are watching the show live, or will it be later they catch the replay?
They're gonna catch it later. Yeah.
Is your dad gonna watch the show?
You know what? I really hope so. I mentioned it to him, and so he wants to watch it. My kids want to watch it, so another reason why I was So no, they want to watch it, and my mom, I'm hoping she will watch it, but I don't know. Yeah.
So if there is anything that, if your dad is watching it right now, or if he catches the replay, what would you like to say to your dad in this moment?
You're gonna make me cry, Rita.
You know what? I'm just so grateful for my dad. And he knows that. But so grateful. I would not be where I am today if it weren't for my dad. I wouldn't have 3 amazing, healthy children that are just so amazing. Honestly, my kids are great, and I wouldn't have them if I didn't have my dad, and my dad is amazing. My dad's so strong. My dad's always been my rock and just never given up on me. And I treated him pretty crappy before, pretty crappy, and he just never gave up on me. He never gave up hope, and he was always there and just always has loved me and just accepted me, and we have our struggles now. Sure. We argue about little silly things, but he's still helping me, to this day. I still live with him and my kids. My dad's amazing, and I'm just really grateful that I have my dad.
Your dad is amazing. Just to say, I was out of surgery and I had no one to drive me to the doctor. Rita said, no, my dad was going to come and drive you to the doctors. Thank you, Dave. You're an amazing human being, and you've been in her life and you didn't give up on her. And look, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful now. You always were, Rita. You always were.
Rita, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm now going to invite you, because I know your children, if not all, at least your oldest and maybe your middle, will watch the replay. What would you like to say to your children right now?
You know what? Especially to Andrew, I know that it was a struggle for so many years, and you never knew if I was coming or if I was going. You never knew, I want to share this. This is really sad. It's really actually kind of hard to hear, but when my son was about 4 or 5, he would wake up every night between 2 and 4 in the morning every night, like clockwork, and come downstairs to my room to check on me just to make sure I was still there, and that kills me to know, so these are kind of some of the things when I was saying, like, I have a hard time forgiving myself. It's just for these little things, you know what I mean, that I put so much fear into my son at such a young age, and he's had to live with this and carry with this, right? So like I said, he's 16, he's got some things he needs to deal with, right? And that kills me to know, that. So I just want him to know, and Aaron and Ariana, how much I love them. I have always loved them. And everything that I've put them through, that they have ever felt negative because of me, that wasn't me, and I'm so sorry that you had to experience any of that. And if I could, I would take it away, but it's only going to make them, it's in a way, I know that doesn't seem like it will, but it's forming them into these amazing children, adults that they're going to become, because yeah, they just, I don't know. And I love them so much. And it probably didn't seem like that then, but I did. And I did everything I did for them, out of love. Like I did a lot that they probably don't even know about, but because I love them, and I just, it's probably really hard to see that, but I do.
Well, I want to acknowledge you for sharing this right now. And I thank you for your willingness to be vulnerable in this moment with us, Deb and I, and the community, and with your dad and your children. But I want to say this, at the same time, the greatest gift, Rita, that you could give yourself, your children, your dad, your mom, your uncles, your aunts, whomever is in your circle of life, is the gift of self-forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Because as long as you hold on to feeling the guilt or beating yourself up, they feel that. And they don't understand, may not understand what's behind the energy, but they can feel it. And when you're able to truly begin the process of forgiving yourself for everything that you have done in your life, that you that caused pain to yourself and to others, you give yourself the freedom to be able to love yourself, and therefore the freedom to be able to love everyone that you touch in your life in a way that you never knew was possible. There's a capacity within yourself that you may not be aware of today. And this is where, I'm going to use the word trust. If you just trust me in this moment, when you are willing to forgive yourself, your whole life is going to change. Every relationship will mend. And this, just have faith and trust in God, and faith and trust in me in this moment, because I have gone through this process. And yes, now my relationships still aren't perfect, but I'll tell you what, I was able to have a conversation with my ex-wife yesterday that I was not looking forward to. And you know what? We honored each other. We talked to each other with respect. We came from a loving, kind place in the moment. And there was no profanity. There was no screaming. There was no disrespect. We were able to get through it in a very, very beautiful way. And acknowledge each other's feelings, which is something that was very difficult for many years of our marriage. And to the point where when we hung up, I felt really good about it. And I was able to text my ex and thank her. Thank her for showing up, and for us, acknowledging that through the healing that we've both done over the past 3 years, that we're able to have this type of conversation. This was not possible 3 years ago. This was not possible 2 years ago. But that's what happens when we are willing to forgive ourselves through the work that we have to do. And by you coming on the show today is just another step in your healing process. And I want to share something. I want to thank Misty for coming on today. And I'm going to read this out loud. It's somewhat lengthy. We're going to probably go over a little bit. And if you're okay with staying on a little bit longer, the show, if you guys are able to stay, I'd like to stay on a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So Misty says, coming from a hurting soul can I just say, this is hard to listen to, but it speaks directly to me. I felt like I was meant to see this and hear these actions to understand my own parents. I was never wanted. My mother was forced to have me. She was locked away and forced to have 3 children before she finally got away. And my father only wants sons. My parents never wanted me from birth. And I have few scars to prove that point. But after I learned time and time again from my own attempted suicidal mistakes, I feel like if my mother had had the courage to give me up instead of keeping me around to watch me fail, then maybe I wouldn't feel like such a broken vase or vase, depending on where you're from. Yet since I decided to take on her hate and create a remedy to forgive all the torturous years she has me endure, I feel thus profound energy to help her find her own light, even though she still doesn't want me. I'm fighting to show my son that we have the choice to make things better with the dreams that scare us. I want to give something back to the ones that created me, because if it weren't for them, then I wouldn't have been able to find my own version of love. Thank you, Rita.
Oh,
Thank you for sharing that. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
And that's the gift we get to give today, you know. I believe that Misty felt in this moment, she was touched by the conversation that we've had. And by you having the courage to come on and have a voice and hear your voice, it's allowing Misty to come forward in this moment and have her voice and to share her truths, her pain, and her love.
Can I just say something to her? Is she on or no?
yeah.
Whether she's on or not, we can comment after, but she's with us. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted her to know that I love her, and I so appreciate her sharing that. And, you know, like, I will be praying for her. And there's hope for her family.
I love you, Rita.
So with what time we do have left, we're a little bit over, and that's okay. Rita, if you could sum up and share what's in your heart right now from a perspective of just inner wisdom and what you have learned through your experience over the past many years since you turned 14, what would be if there's any takeaway that we as a community can walk away from today's show, what would it be?
Well, there's a reason for everything. They may not seem like it at the time, you know, even the pain that we go through, the horrible things that happen to us, it's everything happens for a reason. It truly does, you know, and that's the biggest thing that I have learned. And that anything can be changed and come out and work for the better, you know. Never to give up. Oh my goodness, how many times I would just so easily, I would look for excuses, the littlest, tiniest excuses just to give up and just to not have to keep trying, to not have to keep whatever, you know. And don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on those around you, you know. And it's only the time that time that you're feeling like, you know, you want to give up or things aren't going well or whatever. It honestly lasts for such a short amount of time that, you know, once you get through it, you'll be able to look back and be like, wow, I'm so glad I didn't, you know, end up doing what I was hoping or planning on doing, right? And to reach out, always to reach out. You know, I struggle with that still too. I overshared everything for a long time, you know, and now I feel like, oh, I don't want to, I'm a little nervous, I guess, to share about things that maybe I'm feeling or going through. Also because, you know, everyone looks at me and think, oh, wow, Rita's doing so good. So it makes it a lot harder to share when I'm not doing good. You know what I mean? Because I don't want people to look at me differently. But at the same time, it's like, you know what, that doesn't really matter. It matters what I'm going through and what I need to deal with and what I need to talk about. And you know what, from today, even just from this show, I'm going to remind myself of that. And I'm going to talk to reach out and talk to people that I need to when I need it, honestly, because I still, like I said, I still struggle. I still have issues. I still have, you know, and yeah, I hurt still, you know, and there's still things that I need to deal with, right? But it's a journey, and it doesn't just happen overnight, and it's something that has taken me 2.5 years to even come here and talk about myself, never mind, right? So And with my children, baby steps. I used to get so worried. Oh, they don't love me. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't want me around and stuff. And it's like, you know what? Well, it didn't take me 2 years to cause all this pain and all this resentment in them. You know what I mean? It took a long time. So it's going to take a long time to heal.
Exactly.
But little baby steps, it's happening, right?
Yes. Yeah, you know, Rita, I think there's a difference between, you know, you talked about you used to overshare. It all comes down to what is the context and the perspective of our sharing.
Yes.
If we raise our hand and we speak from the space of holding ourselves accountable with a lesson behind it, and coming from the space of humility, not from the place of ego and pride and what I refer to as being a victim and sitting on, you know, I know you know this term, sitting on a pity pot. You know, that is just commiserating with those that are suffering. It's when we come from the space of what you're doing today. It's when you come from the space of snuggling your beautiful young child and expressing how you feel about them and showing up for yourself and showing up for them and with them consistently as a beautiful, loving mom that you are today, doing everything you can do to become the best version of yourself. That's how we get to heal. And through sharing those truths, coming from the perspective of a positive energy, positive shifts in our thinking, even though it's difficult, but knowing that through those steps and through those actions, we get to be change makers. We get to change lives. We get to change the lives of our family members. And your children are young enough. They are young enough to recover. They are young enough to not just recover, but to heal. And by showing up for yourself and for them, you're giving them the greatest gift of their life.
I think another thing too, I just want to say is, for me, I couldn't do it on my own either. You know, I like to think that I could. For a lot of years, I thought I could do it on my own, but I couldn't do it on my own. So I think reaching out, like I said, reaching out, but community, there's so much power in community and finding God for yourself, right? I don't know, but God has, like I've said already, has been the hugest part in my life, right? So, yeah. Yeah,
if I hadn't found God 3 years ago, I don't think I'd be alive today. My journey has been it's not been singular. It's not been through isolation. It's been through a community, as you just shared. You know, I had to step into the 12-step rooms for my own addictions. And also find a place where I'm able to connect, find my conscious contact with a power greater than myself. And I never had that in my life. And, you know, I've got one of my spiritual mentors says, you know, if he was fighting cancer years ago, and not that long ago, and battling it, and he choosing not to go for a traditional treatment. And I asked him, was it the water fast, or was it the raw vegan? What was it that has allowed him to be alive today? And he said to me, if he didn't have God in his life, he wouldn't be alive. It wouldn't have mattered if he did the 45-day water fast. It wouldn't matter if he gone raw vegan. God his spirituality is the foundation behind his healing, his mind, body, and soul. And so that's been my experience, at least for me, without having made conscious contact with God. I don't believe that I would be here today. I don't believe that my relationships would have been mended. I would not be certainly would not be in this studio with you two beautiful ladies today having this conversation. And how's about you, Debbie? What would you like to share with the community as
I'm also with Rita and you on this, because I was raised in a fairly religious upbringing, and God was a huge part of our life, but I never really had it for myself. I was trained, I was taught, but I never really felt it for myself until I was going through a really hard time. And then I lost contact, and I didn't want to get help. I felt like I needed to do this on my own and suffer for some reason. I don't know why. Sorry, but just recently, I've just really felt his presence in my life, and just reach up. Don't reach out. Reach up, not out. And that's something that's really helped me. Don't reach out to substances. Reach up. Whatever you feel is closer for you to do. I was gonna ask you, Rita, because when you're going through a hard time, there's always something that resonates with you that kept you through the hardest time. For me, my friend Tina, she had gotten me this bracelet, and it says "Be Your Own Hero" on it. And when I went through the hardest time of my life, I remember having that and thinking, my thoughts are my own, be your own hero. And that's what got me through the hardest time. What was it that got you through your hardest time?
My kids, okay, but reading and praying, those have been very important in my life. Reading and praying. Reading the Bible helps me.
What's your favorite scripture?
Romans 8:28. For God can turn all things into the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his plan and his purpose. So just, just things that I've gone through, right?
Yep.
I turn that, all the yuckiness that I have experienced, that I've gone through, and I've only shared some of my story, right? But I've had quite a few horrible things happen too, right? But so he can change all that and use it for his purpose and make it into something beautiful. And I believe that, and I know that, right? That's something that's truth for me. Praying and talking to other people, like I said, right? Reaching out to community is important. So
yeah, community is so important. Community and helping other people. Like when I was going through the hardest time, I couldn't leave my house. I was so scared, and I hadn't left for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Then the Humans of Edmonton experience, Jerry, and they were having this Christmas. They made these amazing bakes for these homeless people, and I brought Richard because my son was having a really hard time, and I pulled him out of school. I said, "You're coming too, because you need to see how grateful you need to be, like what we have." And went out there, and that absolutely changed my life by helping other people and just give back, even if it's just a smile. If you see someone's going through a hard time, just acknowledge them on the street. Pick up trash that you see on the ground. Do something that's going to make a positive impact, even when you're feeling the lowest you possibly can. Do something that can make a positive impact in this world, because energy travels and positive, it flows. It's just like ripples in the water. So even if you're feeling bad, contribute something little. It doesn't have to be a big thing, just little tiny steps.
I want to acknowledge both of you and thank both you, Debbie and Rita, for showing up today. Mm-hmm. When we show up, we give it away. And it's just a beautiful feeling. I could tell the two of you that I am just filled with just tremendous just gratitude in this moment that you both showed up today. I'd like to read something that I posted that Brandy shared a little earlier in this conversation. I want to thank those that came on live and those that catch us on a replay. It doesn't matter when you get here. It just matters is that you show up sometime or another for yourself. Brandy says, "I wasn't shown emotion growing up. I make sure I show each of my 3 kids emotions and not to be scared to express them." And that goes back to me grabbing my divine angel Mary while she's cooking sometimes and just start dancing. And that's just one way that I show how much I care for her. And I just want
to
go ahead.
I just want to say hi to Brandy. She was so brave to share her story on a project that I'm working on. It's called the Skinnamin Experience, and she has an incredible story. She bared her whole soul and was so brave, and I just thank you for being here, Brandy, and showing up as well. And I would love to have you on the show if you're ever wanting to be here, but you've already shown up. But go check out her story, because it's going to help other people so much.
And that brings me to a comment of and thank you for reminding me, Debbie, is that if you're listening to the show, if you're watching it live or catching a replay, and it resonates with you, and you are ready to step forward and share your story and have your voice be heard in the community, and feel that perhaps maybe you could inspire, help someone else in healing their own mind, body, or soul, feel free to reach out to Debbie or myself through social media, through Facebook, through Messenger. Let us know that you are ready to come on and come into the studio.
Put your hand up. We'll call on you. You just had to put your hand up.
Just be willing to just have the courage like Rita did today.
High five, Rita.
Rita, I would like to I'd like to stay close to you. You know, I'd love to have you back on again in the future, you know, when you're ready to come on and share what's changed in your life as you navigate this beautiful life that you're creating for yourself today and for your children. And you're always welcome to come back into the studio.
Thank you.
And with that, we're just about out of time. I would like to say next Sunday, before we head out, if you ladies can stay in the studio, we're going to go offline. I just want to do a wrap up with you for 2 minutes after our last, once the broadcast ends. But next Sunday, Debbie and I are going to be hosting the show, Real People, Real Stories, Raw, same time at 3 p.m. West Coast time. And we're going to have a guest on. Her name is Emily. And Emily has just an amazing story she's going to share with us. She's a beautiful woman. I was introduced to her by a friend in our community out of Payson, Arizona. And we had a conversation this week. She's going to be here next Sunday. And so I'm excited to have her. And I'm just in tremendous emotional space right now. I'm just, you know, I have this smile on my face, Rita. It's a smile that's just, sometimes it's hard to put on a shelf, and I'm okay with that, because it was most of my life, I didn't really have too much of a smile. And a smile is just I'm coming from that space of just pure authentic gratitude for the life I have today and how I get to share it with people like you and Debbie. And so with that, we're going to end this show. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you for being here today, and look forward to seeing you and keeping in touch and hearing how your journey continues. All right.
Bye, everybody. Stay kind, okay?
All right. Stay in the studio just for a sec.
Okay.
All right. Thanks all for joining us. Have a beautiful evening, and we'll catch you next week on Real People, Real Stories, Raw.
Bye, everybody.